Welcome home, Raiders. Tonight, we have got so many sports to talk about, so many Blizzard eSports to talk about, all of them, actually, that I am going to just jump right into the intro. As Convert to Raid presents BattleNet Sports! Everybody, and welcome to BattleNet Sports. My name is Pat Crane. I am your host, and this week we are catching up with all of the things. I was gone for a couple of weeks, and I apologize for that. Hopefully, we will be on a much more even schedule for the time being. So, which is good because there are so many esports heading all through summer every single week. So I'm really looking forward to this summer, talking all about esports with the gang. So let's catch up with everybody and get moving because there's a lot of show ahead. Overwatch League is a thing we enjoy. As you can tell from my jersey, if you're watching the video part of this program, I am wearing the Shock jersey, and my friend Thist over there, she is wearing a Canada jersey, but it's the Overwatch Canada jersey, if you know what I mean. So, welcome, Thist.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And of course, you know Thist from Double Tap and Lagging Balls and all sorts of different places like that. So,
yeah, who even knows anymore?
Who knows? You're everywhere. You are omnipresent.
And nowhere.
And nowhere at the same time. How confusing. Okay,
Very.
Let's talk a little bit about Overwatch League because we are just about to start stage 4, the last stage of the season.
How exciting is that?
It's very cool. I am totally stoked. But we haven't talked for a little bit, and we need to talk about stage 3 finals. Well, stage 3 and stage 3 finals a little bit. I think
just a little?
Just a little bit. I think we can go over kind of what happened. As we pick up our story, we understand that Boston Uprising has a perfect record going into the finals, and everybody else doesn't.
No, they 14-game winning streak, Pat.
It's 14. Pretty awesome.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty awesome.
They uprose, Pat.
They really did. They really did.
But who saw that coming? But it kind of. What's your opinion on them not taking it all the way? Like, obviously NYXL beat them.
Yeah, I saw it coming because I'm like going,
really?
if there was a perfect storm, they are going to lose to NYXL because now everything is on the line for NYXL. NYXL has had it kind of easy in the league to date, only because they've dominated, right?
Yeah.
They really have kind of dominated all the time. And if you look at their overall record, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Super impressive. Plus, they have all their other stage wins and stuff like that. So they have been in this place before. They know exactly what to do. They have dominated every team ever. Boston coming up and shooting up through the ranks was a surprise to everybody, I think. And,
sure was.
And, if there was a game to lose, that was it.
That's true. And I totally agree with you. Like, NYXL Excelsior's at punishing. I've heard this term like 100 times. Punishing other teams for their mistakes. Mm-hmm. Like they are. I think the notable thing about NYXL and Boston is that they are great communicators and they really have their teamwork down. Like obviously they have great managers and coaches behind them and stuff, but they've got their communication down. They've got their teamwork down. And they've got they've got a way of understanding other teams that other teams don't quite have yet, probably because of all that. And like, I think with NYXL, it got a little iffy in this stage, mostly because, Pine is one of their star players. You know, and it's hard to say that because like everybody on NYXL is kind of a star player at this point.
Kind of,
but
yeah.
So like the other thing that seems to be plaguing Overwatch League teams is mental health. Whether it's homesickness or feeling of inadequacy, like, you know, when you see a team lose and then some of the team members will go on Twitter and apologize, like that's rough, you know, like you don't want to see people doing that. But Pines, you know, had depression and homesickness, and he hasn't been able to play that much. But that's what I was thinking. Like, if there was a factor that would allow Boston to defeat NYXL in the finals, that would be the only factor. But it seemed like NYXL had prepared adequately for that day, and everybody was, you know, firing on all cylinders. And it definitely wasn't a surprise that they won. But how wonderful would it have been if Boston like took it all the way, though? Like, wouldn't that have been just like an amazing story?
That would have been cool. That would have been great, and it would have been something very unexpected from Overwatch League for its inaugural season and all of that stuff. To have somebody that I think a lot of people kind of discounted as kind of a mid-range team.
They were, and then with the whole Dreamcasper stuff, it was like, right. Now what are they going to do? Apparently they didn't need him, and nobody else does either.
Right. No.
Yeah.
So it's been a tough year for him for a couple of reasons. The worst thing was losing Stage 3, but Stage 3 just in general was just such a great time for those guys. And I'm really happy to see a new team kind of step up into the light, as it were.
Yeah, and you know, and if nothing else, like they did have that perfect record, and no other team has that. Mm-hmm. And they did beat NYXL in Stage 3, ending their record. I think it was like 11 games, I think. That was the record.
Okay.
And then Boston surpassed that and just kept going.
Nice.
But yeah. But I don't know. And it was cool because like this Stage 3 was the first finals that featured 4 teams instead of just 3. Mm-hmm. So we had Gladiators versus Boston, and they came out 3-0.
Right.
Valiant versus Boston 3-0, and then NYXL 3-0 NYXL. So I love the Gladiators, and I was really excited for them to be in the finals, but I think everybody knew that it was going to come down to Boston and New York. So we're just waiting for that.
I don't think there were any surprises at all in any of those games. So no. I think it was just fine the way that it came out, and I know that there are probably some Boston fans that are a little hurt about it, but that's okay. This too shall pass. Let's look ahead to Stage 4, which actually starts tonight.
Woo!
Which we'll get to in a second as far as all the team lineups and stuff like that. Because first we actually need to talk about the changes to Stage 4, because we have one huge change, and that is Brigitte is being allowed into the Overwatch League stuff, and this is going to be an interesting game changer, I think.
Yes,
in a lot of ways.
She is, because she's the meta changer, you know?
Right.
Like she changes everything, right. And we've already seen what happened when she was introduced to the new season in Overwatch proper. Yes. People freaking out. And it's not that she's too OP. It's just that, like I said, since she's the meta changer, it's forcing people to think differently about how they approach the game.
Well, and they just put a little article on overwatchleague.com that talks about this change a little bit, and I totally agree with the conclusion, which is that when you look at dive compositions, which is what we've seen mainly in Overwatch League this year, Brigitte really has a way to kind of power through some of those lightweight DPS guys, those ones that are under 200 HP. She can take them out, and with her stun and with the long range of the mace or the flail and all of that, this is a real shake up to the standard dive composition. So.
Absolutely. And that's why people are having a tough time with it. But right. With Brigitte being introduced into Overwatch League, I think that'll be beneficial for people still struggling with her in game, because now we can see what people do to deal with her.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. so the other day, Nate Nanzer said that Stage 4 will be played on patch 1.22 instead of 1.23, which is what we're playing right now, which includes the Hanzo rework. So old Hanzo is going to be in this stage, whereas new Hanzo is wreaking havoc in game right now. So
that's unique. I wonder why they went with that instead of new Hanzo. Probably because there hasn't been enough time or something like that to.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. And plus, apparently, there's a potential bug that affects the ability to resume play on escort maps if there's a pause during any match in patch 123. So they don't want to deal with that. But I think you're right. It's just it's unfair to ask the pros to play professionally with something that's so new. You know, like they didn't have to play with Brigitte while she was still new. So. Right. I don't know, but you know, Scattershot will live on this stage, and
and to be fair, I don't know how many teams used Hanzo a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't think it'll be that big of a deal moving forward.
Yeah.
Hanzo's not really a game changer to me. It's if we're looking for a really good character to pick people off, people are using Widow. All the time. So,
and I love watching people play Widow. Oh my goodness!
Anytime that I can get a shot, even slightly resembling a shot that I see in Overwatch League, I freak out and I automatically just start recording.
Of course.
Oh, that has to be play of the game, right? Nope.
Do you even share it, or do you just watch it later and feel good about yourself?
I watch it later, and I feel good. I don't want to. I don't feel like I can brag about it because I'm sure that it's total garbage. But
usually it's an accident.
If you release it out to the public will say, nope, it's total garbage. So well, that's all right. That's what
the public does.
Yeah, exactly. That's their job.
But it was announced that the league grand finals, which happened after stage 4, they're coming to Brooklyn at the Barclays Center on July 27th and 28th.
Do you have your tickets yet?
No, they go on sale on Friday the 18th. I am excited because I already live here. And it's thank you to whoever decided that this was the thing, because it's so hard sitting on the East Coast watching all the cool Overwatch stuff happening in California. I mean, fair enough, but it's so nice. I don't know if it has anything to do with NYXL being the best team in the league right now and being from New York, et cetera, but it's going to be amazing.
So if it was the Florida Mayhem, it would be in Orlando or something like that.
Maybe that's the way it's going to work. I'm not sure, but I'm also glad that they're having it not at BlizzCon, because that would have been. I mean, it would have been great to see at BlizzCon, of course, but if they had announced that before BlizzCon tickets went out, nobody would have got tickets ever.
Yeah. Well, and so at BlizzCon we're going to have the same thing that we had last year. Which is what is it called? What is it called?
I don't know. Check my shirt. It's the Overwatch World Cup.
Hey, Overwatch World Cup. There we go.
Yep.
I totally spaced it for whatever reason.
Because there's so many cups and arenas and worlds and globals and finals and all those things.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about some of those words that you just said.
Yeah.
in a hot minute. But so we have that coming to BlizzCon. We have the Overwatch World Cup coming to BlizzCon, and that'll be fun as well. Yes. Also, just so you guys know, I know that I've said it on Battle.net News a bunch of times, but I'll say it here as well. The tickets are going on sale for the week before. The week before BlizzCon, there's going to be stuff happening at the Blizzard Arena in Burbank, where it's not just the Overwatch World Cup, but it's also HGC and WoW Arena and StarCraft. They're all 4 of those things are going to be kind of cycling through the Burbank studios, and you can pick up your tickets starting the 17th, May 17th. And I'm not sure exactly how long they're going to be on sale for, because I'm guessing that they'll sell out.
Definitely.
Pretty quick.
Oh, I would love to go though. So much fun.
It'll be good. It'll be good. And by the way, if you have not seen an esport at BlizzCon, what are you doing? Get a ticket to BlizzCon. If you haven't gotten a ticket to BlizzCon, go to lfblizzcon.com, and that's where you can maybe pick up a ticket or exchange or whatever. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but you can go there and check it out. because BlizzCon tickets are all sold out.
Yep.
Sorry.
What can you do?
But the energy there is just so amazing.
Oh yeah, that's like the culmination of all of the fans of all of the esports in the Blizzard universe.
Right.
It's there.
Right.
And like there's confetti and there's cool signage and like cool people are there
all
and
the
lighting
lights.
and yes. Oh my goodness.
All of those little clappy balloon things. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, the thunder sticks.
Thunder sticks. Yeah, thunder
annoying,
sticks.
Yeah.
Yes, the annoying thunder sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So there. All of those different things. All right, let's get back to OWL because we kind of sidetracked there for a little bit.
Man.
Stage 4, we have some new maps as well, right?
Do we?
I think so. Maybe we don't. I don't know if are they new or no?
There's probably some new maps.
All right. Well,
or at least just like a different rotation.
Yes, a different rotation of maps for sure. And we'll get back to you on that after we see it this week.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it last time, so I don't even know. But what I want to talk to you about is some of the games coming up, what the schedule looks like for week 1. And I think we're probably looking at the same teams that we were at the end of stage 3.
Definitely.
So, I mean Valiant, the Gladiators, the Shock, they were starting to make some moves.
Shock is viable.
Didn't quite make it, but they're kind of, they were kind of in there with Philly as well. Boston Uprising, of course, NYXL, Houston Outlaws, and who knows what's going on with the Dynasty these days.
Yeah, Dynasty in London. I'm sorry, but old news.
Yeah, their star is fading.
Yeah.
So they got to get it back.
Hey, maybe they will. Maybe they'll be motivated to work harder. Maybe all the teams will be motivated to work harder this stage to make it to the grand finals.
Except for the Dragons won't be, but and the fuel won't be.
That's the thing, right? It's like all of the teams, like save NYXL, all of the teams seem to be rotating fairly well with like how successful they are. Right. But the bottom 3 teams have been consistent throughout the entire season.
Yep.
And wouldn't it just be amazing if one team from the bottom just went up a few pegs, just a little bit?
Well, that would be a hoot, I think is what they say.
I think so.
so yes, I want to see for stage 4, the Shanghai Dragons win games.
Just one?
No, I want to see them win more than one, but I really want to see them start winning. I want to see the Dallas Fuel start gelling a little bit more.
That'd be nice.
Because they are making some... It's not that they play badly. They're playing pretty well, but they just make some gaping mistakes in the game that cost them the whole deal.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, they just have a really big problem with communication.
Right. And I want the Florida Mayhem, they're for being a team near the bottom, they are probably one of the funner teams near the bottom. Not discounting the Fuel, but I think that they have a lot more fun just in general. So
yeah, the Fuel is basically an entirely different team than what it was, you know. And it used to be everybody's favorite team because of the personalities, but the personalities got too big, and I don't know. I think a lot of people in the Dallas Fuel couldn't handle being and working with some of these bigger personalities. And I think that they had to start from scratch quite a few times, just as the Dragons did. I mean, they can't hold on to a head coach.
Yep.
And like, it's interesting because like the Dallas Fuel have problems with communication for whatever reason. It must be a personality thing, but the Dragons have actual communication problems because of language. So it's just interesting, like how I think the biggest problem for every team in Overwatch League is communication for whatever reason. Like it can just be like a multi-layer, like completely diversified issue. Yeah. But it affects the players in the same way. And it's like you need to understand each other. And
now that we've kind of moved through the roster changes for the season and all of that stuff, I'm hoping that communication issues have been worked on enough so that we can start seeing those kind of resolve somehow.
I certainly hope so. It seems like the new players for the Dragons, the Koreans, are gelling really well with the rest of the Dragons. Like if you look at their social media, like they're hanging out, they're going to do things, and I don't know. It seems like the more that the players hang out and do stuff like extracurricular stuff, and because like, isn't it when you're friends with like a raid team or the people that you play with, that you already have that chemistry, and so you will naturally communicate better, which naturally makes you a better team. And isn't it interesting? Like, I've
found that at BlizzCon, when I meet my raid team, it helps me, just like socially. I think it makes us better players all around, and better knowing each other kind of more personally. So
absolutely.
Yes, I think all of that stuff makes total sense. Are there any particular games that you're looking at for this week that are like, oh, these are highlight games? These are ones that I really need to watch. I'm not seeing one that I'm particularly like, oh my gosh, I have to watch this game.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Right.
But there's no like, oh my God games. Right. I'm looking forward to the Gladiators versus the Shock in a few hours. Because I just love the Glads, and I want to see, because I think they're going to do way better than they have been. Like, they've been consistently getting better. So I think like this stage is their stage. I'm interested to see who wins Dallas versus Shanghai tonight. That'll be interesting.
That actually could be one of the key games is to have one of those lower bracket teams facing off against each other, and the fight for the bottom is actually probably the most kind of, are the Dragons gonna win? Are the Dragons gonna win?
Are they gonna win?
Oh,
because they could. They might.
Right.
They might.
Right.
But Thursday,
it's anybody's stage at this point. They're all tied.
Dallas only wins against Shanghai. But, maybe Shanghai has gotten better. So,
but that's only because Shanghai's lost every game.
Yep, this is like 30 games. I think they set a world record for as many games lost in professional sport capacity.
Oh wow. They should at this point, I kind of almost feel like they should have won one on just by accident, right?
It's unreal.
That's my one joke, and now I'm gonna move on because we have so much other stuff to talk about. So the stage 3. By the way, I wanna wish you a belated birthday on this show. I know that it was your birthday during the Overwatch League Stage 3 finals.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was also MDI weekend. It was Mythic Dungeon Invitational stuffs. And we should probably catch up and find out, not necessarily about the action, because I think that we can agree it's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. It was action-packed.
Do we see anything unusual that weekend? Was there anything really bizarre? Nothing really bizarre.
Nothing really. No. Okay. No.
But now we know who's going to the global finals, right?
We do. Okay. So there are 8 teams going to the global finals. And I will read them in order of like top rank. Okay. So number 1, Skyline D from China. Method NA from NA. Free Marcy from APAC, who are the reigning champions right now. Kel's Angels from EU, Team PogChamp from EU, Gulch Trotters from APAC, Team Omega Sniped from America, and Sunsky from China. Okay. So on the first day of the NAMDIs, the completion of the APAC group stage from earlier continued, and Free Marcy ended up winning. I mean, we all knew that they were going to. But that was a long freaking day for the casters. And all the crew working. Oh my goodness. They because like it's long enough. And then they just went, okay, for the integrity of the MDI, we're going to, let APAC continue and see what happens. And we all thought that it would be something like, we'll just go ahead and do it when everybody can, and then we'll tell you the results kind of thing. But no, they broadcasted that. Sure. Like they were just continuing it. So that was really cool. But yeah, so the MDI Global Finals are on Friday, June 22nd at 9 a.m. PDT.
Okay.
So,
and those are going to be played live in the same spot, right? So everybody's going to be okay. That's cool. And is that going to be in the Blizzard Arena?
I don't think so.
Or is it going to be in Ohio or the MLG studios?
If it was going to be anywhere, it would probably be at the MLG studios. Okay. I've been desperately trying to figure out if people can go and watch, because I know that, there's chairs there to sit on for watching. So if anybody knows.
It's just like a folding chair in the corner.
I'll bring my own chair.
Right. I'll bring out like a camping chair or something like that. Yeah, it'll be fun.
I don't mind. I'll bring my own snacks. I don't care. Just let me in. But yeah, so I'm super stoked about that. I think that just the fact that this is like the best teams from like globally is incredible. And if anyone has any sort of like opinions or reservations about like which teams are better at PvE and which region, like this is going to be it. Like this is going to tell you who's the best. And I'm so excited about it. Do you have any predictions? Because I don't.
No, I don't. I really don't. I take a look at all 8 teams and I'm like, this could go anywhere really. And in last year we did see some surprising plays where it just, team wipes and stuff like that, where it was, something kind of unpredictable. Of course, last year they did do Court of Stars and the other newish one on, Mythic plus difficulties, and it was super new, so nobody really had a lot of practice at it. So you had like 45 wipes or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, that was like
I really hope that they throw something in like that, because that would be nice to have like a wild card map.
Yes.
To just say, you know what? Nope, we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna do some different affixes too. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think this is gonna be more controlled. But it would be great if they did something. Yes,
I agree. I agree. And wouldn't it be great if Free Marcy took it again? Wouldn't it be?
Sure.
Yeah. Bring it home for APAC.
That'd be cool. That would be just fine by me. I don't have a horse in this game. I can whoever. Sure.
You're not like NA, even though you live in NA.
I love living in NA, but I the team seemed fine. It's all good. But all the teams seem fine. So
yeah, well they are. So they're the best.
Right. Okay, so that's MDI, but let's continue along the WoW route. Wow. And let's talk some AWC. So we're going to talk Arena now.
Yes.
Because we are back at it with some Arena play. This last weekend we saw the EU Cup 1 for the summer. And remember, there's going to be 3 cups for the summer, both EU and NA, and we will catch you guys all up to date on all of that stuff as it plays through over the next 6 weeks.
Yay.
Of Arena play. What do we got for the EU Cup 1?
EU Cup 1 was fantastic. I just wanted to mention that the stage is now blue. It is no longer green. I think that's pretty cool.
What does that mean?
Entire time.
What does that mean? Blue now, green, not green.
I will tell you.
Okay.
So this entire time, like this year, like the whole, it was MDI and the AWC. The graphics, the stage graphics were Legion themed. Yeah. So it was like there's green, there's Fellfire, like there's green lights going everywhere, green like title changes and stuff like that. But now it is blue. And when I tuned in, I thought I was wrong. I was like, what is this? What is this? Is this WoW? But I don't know. I just thought that was pretty cool.
Is this nice. WoW or is this Heroes of the Storm? Where did I stumble into? But there's Sloot. I know I'm in the right place.
Exactly. Once you see Sloot and like it's not a green light bouncing off his head, but blue,
but that's not AWC. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's going to be blue for the MDI too, because I think this has something to do with BFA. So we're gonna have to start getting used to that.
Oh, okay.
Everything's changing, Pat.
Okay. All right. I got it. Sorry.
It's all good.
So now it's blue, and who did we see in the EW that finished top ranks?
Well, it's interesting because the EU standings, there's a lot of old favorites that have come back to prove themselves once again.
Aha.
So Method Black came out on top, which is pretty awesome. Kind of saw that coming. But then we had Reformed, Team Riviera, Tempo Storm, XRB, To the Moon, and Skill Capped Red. So, we're all familiar with these teams, and they just came to dominate once again. So I'm glad about that. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Team Riviera. I think they might be new. Don't quote me on that. But everyone else, I'm totally familiar with. So I don't know. Just like usual, it's interesting to watch the Europeans just sort of, I don't know. I think we equated that to chess at one point.
Yeah.
They're very smart in their moves, whereas North America just sort of uses brute force whenever necessary.
Yep.
So the next Summer Finals Cup is the NA Cup, and that starts on May 19th, and that's Saturday at 10 a.m. PDT.
Okay.
And the participants is it's already closed. You can't sign up for it anymore. But some of the participants for NA include The Move, Sneakiest Snakes, Super Rejects, Method Orange, and the Super Frogs.
Frog!
Yeah. Yep. The Snakes and the Frogs. I'm super stoked to see them both. So it's going to be great. It's going to be if you guys have been missing AWC or want to get into it, I think this weekend would be a great opportunity to do that because these guys are some of the greatest NA teams ever. So it's going to be awesome.
And it's kind of a reset on the story stuff. I mean, when we talk about esports, I mean, yes, there's always the esports action, and there's the winners and losers, and all of the I don't know, special things that happen during gameplay. But there's also this big thing, and I think you see it especially with MDI, with AWC and HGC as well, where they really talk more about the story of these teams, and they talk more about kind of give you some inside scoop on what these teams really are all about and stuff.
Exactly. So I love that. I love that they started doing that.
It's nice.
Yeah, I want to know these players. I think that's why Overwatch League is so attractive, because you start caring about some of these players. Sure. And WoW is kind of moving into that. And I want to know, I get excited when I see a fire mage playing because I'm a fire mage.
Right.
I want to know these guys. I want to know, what they're like, and maybe I'll really like them. And I want to know. Maybe that's why I want to go see them in person.
Sure.
Yeah.
And get their autographs.
Yeah, exactly.
Take a selfie with them. And
yes, exactly. I want WoW esports to be more like that, please.
That would be great. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So anything else as far as stuff that we need to talk about? I can't talk anymore. So
that's fine, but we can be finished.
I have talked about so many sports already, just with you, that this whole show is just going to be super long. It'll be fine. It'll be great. If you love esports, this is the show, because we're going to talk about all of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a Blizzard esports fan.
It really is. It really is. Well, thank you so much for helping us out this week.
No problem.
Once again, and I'm sure that I will talk to you next time as well. Make sure to catch Thist at all the places. There's doubletap.com. That's dbltap.com. Lagging Balls, your other podcast, and of course Battle.net News. You pop in there from time to time, and
hey, I've been known to.
And hang
out. Sorry about that.
And make fun of me. So all of that is appreciated. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time. Let's talk some HGC, some heroes. And of course, Jules Scott is back, and you know her from Nerf This and all in the Torrent Think Tank and all of the things. So welcome, Jules.
Thank you. It's been a while, and we've got lots of stuff.
It has been. So it's been a couple of weeks, and I know that we haven't talked about the HGC playoffs, which were just before the beginning of the month, right?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago now? Yeah, 3 weeks ago now. Right when I was visiting my parents in New Jersey when they were happening. So yes, 3 weeks ago, we learned who from NA and who from EU are going to the midseason brawl. Of course, the top players, the top teams in each division automatically qualified. They didn't have to do the playoffs, but we had the ladder system where teams number 5, number 6 play against each other. The winner takes on number 4. The winner takes on number 3, so on and so forth.
Right.
So we had a big blowout for NA, which only had one spot to go claim, and that was Heroes Hearth eSports. They were seeded number 2. They won in a 5-game brawl against Team Octalysis, and you're like, who's a Team Octalysis?
Right. They changed their name, and I was very confused.
Yeah, you totally did that, and it was so true because literally, like the week of playoffs, they got acquired by a sponsor. So now Team 12 is now Team Octalysis. So we had a blowout. It was awesome. 5 games. And so now Heroes Hearth and Tempo Storm are going to represent NA at Mid-Season Brawl coming up in a couple of weeks.
And who's going to be repping for EU on that?
So because Team Dignitas won the Mid-Season Brawl, 3 spots for EU were open. Dignitas and Fnatic qualified, so they didn't have to do any playoff stuff. They were done. And so that one additional spot up for grabs was almost taken by Team Zealots, who were the sleeper team in the Western Clash. Like, nobody expected them to do well. They wound up making it to the finals and ultimately lost. But they fought their way up, all the way up the playoff ladder, again, to face off against Method. Method took home the crown. So it's going to be Dignitas and Fnatic and Method going for EU.
Okay. So that was that stuff. And then we had Crucible as well. And,
right, next weekend.
Right, the very next weekend we had Crucible. And Crucible was basically the bottom 2 teams from the season are playing for their spot, really. They're playing to keep their spot. And all of the, I don't want to call them amateur teams, but they're not in the HGC Prime stuff. They are shooting to get into the big leagues for next season, right?
They are. Anyone can put together a team and play through the open division, which goes on for months. They have cups every week. You qualify. If you win, you get points, and you qualify for playoffs to get the top 2 spots to fight in the Crucible to win a spot in HGC. So the bottom 2 teams in HGC have to fight to keep their salaries and their spots. And it's always a big deal because you want to see these new players come in and get an opportunity to compete professionally, but they don't have the tournament level experience that the HGC teams do, even though they may have ranked at the bottom of the standings for each division. So what did we find out? Well, all 4 HGC teams that landed in the Crucible, they all won their matches against the top open division teams. They all stay, and it's kind of anticlimactic.
It's a little boring, but that's okay. I mean, but that's the way that it's supposed to be, right? I mean, you would think that those guys that are playing now and you know, they want to keep their spot. They're super driven for it, and they've proven that they belong in that league. So that's awesome. Right? It
is. So we now have a continuation of No Tomorrow and LFM eSports in NA for HGC, and EU, Leftovers and Diamond Skin will continue to compete in Phase 2. So when we get in next week's show, we'll talk about all the roster roulette moves that are happening right now, because there's a lot of them, and it's going to be better to talk about them after this week ends, because there's a lot happening with all those teams. So that's where we're going to end up with that.
Okay. And I know that you just returned from California, and you were at Blizzard Arena in Burbank, and had a grand old time. I saw many Twitter posts and many stories about especially TBK Zord losing his voice and all sorts of things. And I know that we talked about this on the BattleNet News last night, but I want to talk about it again a little bit. I want to find out what your impressions were of the space, especially, and how it was used for Heroes of the Storm, and what, I don't know, other kind of items you saw noted over the weekend, and all that kind of stuff, and mainly just about the place, because I think the setting is so cool and unique. So I'll leave it to
it's like we have now the opportunity to attend events at the Blizzard Arena, and they're making it so that it's possible for that to happen in overlap with Overwatch League. So the entire stage was changed over from what you see on Twitch for Overwatch League. Those big screens that run around the stage were gone. They came up with this really awesome set. It felt like BlizzCon. It felt like I was at the World Championships right in November, but in a much smaller venue. Like, I know you've been there with me too, Pat, when you've gone to BlizzCon and watched Heroes of the Storm from the audience. And it's like, it goes on forever. It's just, there's so many seats. And Blizzard Arena is a lot smaller, a lot more compact. So any large event would be really difficult to hold in that space. It seemed like we did quite well. Heroes of the Dorm tickets did sell out before the event happened. There were a lot of people looking for tickets at the very last minute. But it never felt like we were wall to wall, elbow to elbow. It's very vertical and narrow. So you wind up coming in and then the seats go all the way up to the back, probably seating around 500 people.
Okay.
But you could see everything. I was sitting in a spot where the players were coming out of the tunnel right below me. The casters were to my left, and just like right there, you could totally see that. The players were kind of just like milling. You could see them just kind of milling around as their games finished, or they were waiting for their next match and watching their opponents up on screen. I just had so much fun. And I personally had one of the best seats in the house. I wound up getting there early and stood in line and got in there, and had one of the former Heroes of the Dorm champions from 2016's ASU. A shot was behind me. So he knows what he's talking about.
Sure.
He's won this thing.
Right.
And to see the analytics and the things that he was talking about, it was like I had a caster in my ear, which was so cool. The things that the casters wouldn't necessarily say or pick up on because it was from a pro player perspective. But
sure.
The one thing I will say is that place lights up like you wouldn't believe, with spicy plays like playing Cho'Gall with Abathur and Alex Straza, which is what happened in the match with Cal Poly Pomona and Buffalo. It was the most surreal draft we'd ever seen, and the entire place just never stopped rocking. Like, the ground was shaking. We were so excited, and the whole match was just incredible. If you can get a chance to go, if you are a Heroes of the Storm, I didn't have any team that I was totally like, I got to root for this team.
Sure.
I still had so much fun because it was Heroes of the Storm, and it's my favorite esport. So go, please.
So how would you compare that to HGC?
Well, I think that you don't know the players as well, number one.
Sure.
So you're not looking, maybe, like, you'll hear the stories, the casters will tell you a lot of the stuff that's kind of led up to it if you haven't watched. With HGC, you tend to like kind of connect with the players themselves. You know what the teams are very specialized in, what their favorite picks are. And I didn't have that background because I didn't get a chance to watch a ton of Heroes of the Dorm leading up to this.
Uh-huh.
The level of play was right up in a lot of on par with a lot of stuff. And we got to see Deckard Cain played, which is the first time that he's appeared in competitive at all. Like, this is the first time.
Yeah.
So we were all just like, it was is as exciting as me watching HGC by far. I mean, the finals of Heroes of the Dorm, the final 3 matches were really blah. They were kind of boring.
Well,
it was kind of a blowout, but we lived. We survived.
That's what happens sometimes.
Yes.
So sometimes you get predictable and blah and very lopsided, and sometimes the people that like in the Crucible, the guys who were top notch were remained in their spots. So that's cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just
the most interesting storyline of this is that we had a Canadian team win it for the first time ever.
Right.
So
right. The weird news is that it's like only the 3rd year, right? Right? Is it the 3rd?
Year.
Fourth. So, I mean, that's cool though. That is very cool. So
it was.
So congratulations to those guys, those French Canadians. They're French Canadians too.
Yes, very much so.
So they're
very, very French. I met them at the Blizzard community party afterwards, and their accents were very heavy. They were super happy and were taking pictures with everybody. They were so stoked. Nice. We had a blast with them. It was awesome.
But the weekend was good and lots of fun and lots of we were talking last night. You were talking about how it was kind of like a mini BlizzCon in a lot of ways because you saw so many people from Blizzard and lots of people that we know and all that kind of stuff. So
absolutely. And I got to meet a lot of new folks who I've seen on social media, but never actually spoken to in person at BlizzCon. It was nice because it was so Heroes focused and you could really kind of dig in and learn the community. But I was talking to WoW developers because they came. It was great. We were really having a good time. People that I wouldn't normally have been able to chat with. And everybody's so flipping nice. Like, it's just, we're all there for the same reason and we're so excited about it. And like, I just couldn't get enough of it. It really did feel like BlizzCon in May, a mini style of it. I was totally into it and would do it again in a heartbeat.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And you're doing new projects as well, aren't you?
I am.
Let's talk about this because this is big, guys. This is big right here. So go for it.
Yes. So last week, we were able to announce a project that I've been working on for the last few months with my friend and colleague, Ferociously Steph, who is a Twitch streamer, former Heroes of the Dorm player. She's a top 50 GM level player for Heroes of the Storm. And we have created a new female-focused HOTS team and organization with the goal of earning a spot in HGC. And it's called Femferocity. It is an initiative to help bring more women into Heroes of the Storm and ideally more into esports in general, with a focus on more mental health initiatives, focusing on really strong team connection and interpersonal relations. And I have an interesting role in this. I am the co-founder, but I'm also what's called the performance coach, which is to focus on the team dynamics, how the players are performing individually, what challenges are they dealing with mentally. It's not just about winning, it's also about growing as individuals and as a team together, because that, I think, is the most important way that teams can be successful. And we're embracing those so-called feminine traits of like emotional connection and vulnerability. We're embracing this, and we're making this part of our initiative. And I got to tell you, in the last week, we announced it a week ago today.
Yep.
It has been an incredible ride. People have been sending us emails and tweets and telling us how much they appreciate and want this to be something. So we're taking applications now. You can go to femferocity.com. It's FEMME ferocity.com.
Okay.
Or follow us on Twitter as well. We have a Discord. Just go to the website. It's all there.
Sure.
And the best thing you can do at this point is just to support the initiative. If you believe in it, share it on Twitter, talk about it with others. We're going to make some things happen. And I'm so excited with this group of people.
So with this team, I mean, you're taking apps now. So what is what's the overall timeline? Are you going to start next season in open and go from there? Okay.
Yes, the team is forming now. The biggest question that we always get is, can men apply? And that is a yes. As long as you embrace the values of the organization and promote female strength in esports, we want to talk to you.
Right.
So go to femferocity.com. There's an application form on the page. Send it in. We're going to be doing interviews and tryouts coming up within the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll have a team set to go into the open division, because it is our dream to break into the Crucible, get there, and get into HGC. That is our mission.
Well, best of luck to you and everybody over at Femferocity. That will be something to watch for sure. And it's something new and unusual. And I know that you're already getting press requests and stuff like that. And you're already talking to people, many people about this whole thing, because it is much bigger than just starting a team. It's starting a movement. That's what I want to say. And
I'm with you.
and I only wish you the best of luck moving forward with that stuff and all that. So we don't have anything. The mid-season brawl doesn't happen until June, right?
Correct. Yep.
But I'm sure that we've got more to talk about.
Roster stuff.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moves going on right now. And then there's a lot more acquisitions coming in now. So hopefully by next week, I'll have a clearer picture of what to tell you guys.
Well, why don't we wait for a little bit? Maybe next week we'll come back and we'll talk roster stuff. Jules, Scott, thank you so much for joining me on this HGC section, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
It's time to talk HCT, some Hearthstone action, and of course, Jocelyn Moffat is back with us. Hello, Joss.
Hello.
I know that you have a whole bunch of things to talk about, and you're doing all sorts of new things, and I'm sure that we'll get into that stuff as well. But we haven't talked in a while. It's been a hot minute, as they say. And there has been so much Hearthstone action because we are in really the middle of the summer playoffs. We're damn near the end now, right?
We are. So we've had EU and NA had their playoff weekends already. We have APAC coming up this weekend. But yes, this is the summer playoffs. So this is the kind of culmination of everything we've been talking about in the last few months. This is all the HCT stuff. This is our top, I think it was supposed to be 64, but the numbers, the way they're shaking out with ties and stuff, our tournaments are, in and around the 75 player number. So yeah, like I said, we've had EU already. NA is finished up as well. And the thing that's different about this year, which I think is a huge positive change, we were not quite sure how they were going to actually go about it, but they've changed the format. So instead of going Swiss into a single elimination top 8 bracket and then coming out with a first, second, third, and fourth players, what they've done instead is they've done 2 double elimination pools of 4 players for the top 8. So at the end, we come out with 4 players who are going on to the to the final summer championship. But the people who are coming out of Swiss aren't necessarily eliminated in single elimination, because that was a big problem. You could come out of Swiss with a 7-0 record or a 6-1 record, lose once in the top 8, and then you were out of the tournament. So right. This double elimination bracket is much, much, much better.
Good. So what was now we had the EU May 5th and 6th. We had NA just this last weekend, May 12th and 13th. This weekend we have APAC. Let's start with Europe first. What have we seen as far as, players and some of the fun decks that they've been using and all of that kind of stuff?
So we had Turna, Viper, Bunny Hopper, and A83650 or 83650. I don't really know. A with a whole bunch of numbers. So sure. I think I might just call him A.
A. All right.
So yeah, those were our 4 players to advance out of Europe. It was a very, very competitive tournament. Actually, both EU and NA have been extraordinarily competitive. Once they've narrowed it down to the top 8, you're just like, man, I know all these names. Any one of them could go forward. Obviously, since it's Swiss, most of them are undefeated or close to undefeated coming out of the Swiss tournament. So these top 8s have been extraordinary to watch. And there were some really interesting deck choices in the EU tournament. We saw A bring Shroom Brewer in his Warlock deck, which is a 4/4 that heals. So just that extra little bit of healing was able to help him go through. Uh-huh. And then we had Viper and a few other players, actually including Archbishop Benedictus, which is a card that when it was revealed, a lot of people were just like, oh, come on, that's a joke. It's never going to see any kind of competitive play, because Archbishop Benedictus takes a copy of your opponent's deck and shuffles it into your own.
Right.
So they were like, why would you ever do that? Well, it turns out in Mind Blast Priest decks, they are trying to stave off fatigue because they're drawing so much. And also in control matchups, sometimes you can steal some of those big threats from your opponent. So sure. It actually, if you're targeting control decks with a priest, turned out to be pretty powerful.
So it's a nice little counter move, essentially. Nice.
It is. And it is very, very funny. Whenever we see these cards, we're going to talk about another one that came up in NA, but whenever we see these cards that seem to be these like joke cards when they were announced, actually see competitive use as a tech card, it's always super, super interesting. So I just love the idea of stealing your opponent's deck and throwing it into your own.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want their cards?
and we've been, so now we have all the Witchwood stuff into the meta and all that kind of stuff into all of the HCT stuff. So overall, has it become more diverse, more interesting, more fun, more weird? I don't. What kind of adjectives might you describe how it's become?
Samey? Is samey a word?
All right.
It's well, right now it's kind of unfortunate because the warlocks in particular, both the cube and the control variants, didn't really lose too much. They lost N'Zoth and they lost Mistress of Mixtures, but those two cards didn't really make the decks what they were necessarily. It gave them yet another mechanic to bring back a bunch of minions, but it didn't really make or break the deck. So Warlock being as powerful as it was before the rotation, none of that has really changed. So we're still seeing quite a lot of Warlock. I think the biggest change that we're seeing starting in EU and kind of moving through NA and into APAC, because the APAC deck lists are actually available now for viewing. The Even Paladin deck has seen just like it's head and shoulders above others. Like I think 68 out of 71 players in APAC are actually bringing Even Paladin. It's the most popular deck in the format. So yeah, it's but we did see a whole lot of Paladin again before the rotation. It was a different variant, or at least it was Murlocs, right? So it's still a similar play style. It's kind of a flood the board kind of a play style, but yeah. So we've still got Paladins. We've still got
the cube
Warlocks.
I almost think that the cube blocks have become more annoying. Really.
Oh, yes. Like, I am not a fan of Warlock. I would be totally okay. We're going to talk about the nerfs that are coming a little bit later. But yeah, I would be totally okay if they just made Warlock unplayable for like a year.
Right.
Like,
Because it's the
they've been powerful since the start.
Because it's the Q blocks with the bringing back all of the taunt minions. And
yeah, I agree.
I hate it. I hate it.
I do too. And the thing is, right now, Warlock is just so powerful in any variant. We've even seen a couple of Zoo decks come back into the meta as well. And when you have that many different ways to play, and right now, Warlocks are like healing better than Priests and Paladins. They've got card draw with their hero power. They're bringing things back and cheating things out. They're like doing what all the other classes do, probably with the exception of armor gain, better than any of the other classes.
Yeah.
So they're just too good at everything right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing them getting reined in a little bit.
Nerf Warlock. All right.
Yes.
Let's talk a little NA then. What did we see in this last weekend for the North America stuff?
Well, there were a few major differences between EU and NA. So we saw 4 new archetypes actually show up in the NA tournament. We had Even Shaman, we had Recruit Warrior, Spiteful Priest made a comeback, and like I mentioned, Zoolock. And then there were a whole bunch that kind of dropped off completely. A lot of them that were, because EU was like the first major tournament after the rotation, there were a whole bunch of archetypes that just were tested in the tournament scene and didn't really play out the way that they were expecting to. So overall, the big winners in NA were Spiteful Druid, Even Paladin, like I mentioned, Odd Rogue, and Tempo Mage. All had a huge surge in popularity in the NA tournament. Tempo Mage did extraordinarily poorly, though, to the point that it's almost been dropped completely out of APAC lineups. So, yeah, Tempo Mage was very, very punished. But we saw Mind Blast Priest, Control Warlock, Taunt Druid, and Taunt Warrior both they all dropped off. So Spiteful Druid is becoming one of our most popular decks right behind the Even Paladin deck. So it kind of goes now Even Paladin, and then Spiteful Druid, and then Q-Block going into APAC with one other deck rounding out most lineups. So
it's become very kind of predictable and boring, is what you're saying.
A little bit. People aren't experimenting quite as much because these archetypes are just so powerful.
Way too much. Yeah, especially as we said before, Q-Block. Q-Block is awful.
Exactly. Yeah, Q-Block really is dictating the meta. So, but like I mentioned, Recruit Warrior was one of those decks that was one of the new archetypes. It was actually brought by Fibonacci, who went undefeated in Swiss. So there's a very good chance that we're going to see some more Warrior once kind of the meta shakes out a little bit and once the nerfs come in. So there's still hope. There's still hope. But everyone in the top 8 at NA did bring a Warlock deck. I think there were 5 people who brought Paladin who made it to the top 8. There were 7 with some form of druid. So it is getting a little bit the same.
Right. Well, that was kind of one of the things when I looked at the Witchwood and as far as the decks that were coming out, it didn't seem like there was a lot of variance, only because like we've been talking about, those other ones just work too well. So like the strongest deck survives, and the strongest deck, unfortunately, is like 3 or 4 of them. So
the strongest deck is still pretty much the same as it was before the rotation. So I think a lot of that is why they've decided to make some of the changes that are coming after playoffs are finished, is because they do want to shake things up without ruining the, few months of practice that a lot of these players have put in.
Well, and maybe we should talk about that, because they are going to be nerfing after APAC playoffs this weekend. So sometime, they said sometime after the 22nd of the month. So
basically, they said post playoffs. The playoffs, I believe, are Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then usually we get changes on Tuesdays or Thursdays when it comes to Hearthstone. So we're kind of looking at the 22nd, the 24th, the 29th, or the 31st, because they did say that it is coming before the end of the month. So we do know that they're coming.
And do we know which cards are going to be nerfed as well?
We do. So it's Cabal, Lackey, and Dark Pact from Warlock. So Lackey is the 2/2 for 5 that pulls a demon out of your deck. So that's going to go up in mana cost up to 6. And Dark Pact is still going to function the same and cost the same, except it's only going to heal for 4 instead of 8. So the Warlocks won't be healing quite as much. So the kind of thoughts in the community are that hopefully those 2 changes will allow decks that are a little bit more minion heavy to get like an extra turn of minion damage in. And then once the wall of the Void Lord goes up, then the Dark Pact has only healed for 4 instead of 8, and you can potentially burn them out with spells past that. So it's supposed to kind of make aggro more viable against this deck, so that they can't just, clear, and then put up a wall that you can't get through. So hopefully this is enough to fix Warlock, but I think that Blood Reaver Gul'dan, which was also mentioned as one of the cards they were looking at for this set of nerfs, I think Blood Reaver Gul'dan is still extraordinarily powerful, so he might get looked at in the future, but for now, it's just Lackey and Dark Pact. We're also seeing a change to Spiteful Summoner, which will potentially impact Spiteful Druid. The change to Spiteful Summoner was just 1 more mana, so instead of 6 mana, it now costs 7. I feel like that is more of a nerf to the Spiteful Priest, because the Priest tends to play on curve a little bit more, so they could go, Summoner on 6 and 7, and then, Free from Amber on 8, so they kind of had that curve. Whereas with Druid cheats mana already. Druid didn't really necessarily have something crazy that they wanted to do to ramp up to their 10 mana Ultimate Infestation, so just making them play on 7 and 8 instead of 6 and 7, I don't think that that's a big enough change for the deck, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Call to Arms for Paladin was also changed, and this had a change that was very similar to the others in that it was increased by 1 mana from 4 to 5. But the reason that makes a lot of difference is because the current versions of Paladin that are popular are odd and even Paladins. Even Paladin, like I mentioned, that is taking up a space in almost every single deck list coming out of APAC, every single lineup. So by taking Call to Arms and putting that only available to either Murloc or Odd Paladin, I think it's going to even out the win rates of the archetypes a little bit. And the reason it was so powerful in Even Paladin was because it pulls 1 or 2 drops, but you didn't have any 1 drops because you could only play even cost cards. So every single time you played Call to Arms, you knew you were getting 3 2 drops, which was so powerful.
Right.
So now it's only going to be available to Odd Paladins who can't run 2 drops, which means every time you play for 5 mana Call to Arms, you're going to get 3 1 drops. Not as good.
Yep. Right. Yep. That makes total sense. I was like, okay, I was a little lost in it, but now I'm found. I'm all good. I'm all good.
And then there's one more. There's one more in Standard. The quest for Quest Rogue has been changed. So instead of making all your minions 5/5s, it will make all your minions 4/4s. So that was the other chanch. They can't seem to balance Quest Rogue.
Thank the heavens for that.
They've had problems since it came out. So
yeah, right. Right. I remember playing that Quest Rogue in the very beginning when it was nice and powerful and everybody hated it. And I was like, well, I can win with this, so I'm going to play it. And then they nerfed it and then they brought it back. And then I'm like, oh, because I had gotten rid of my...
of your quest?
My quest, yeah. I got rid of my Quest Paladin, or my Quest Rogue, and I was like, oh, damn it.
Bad.
Why did I do that? So, oh well. Now we've got APAC this weekend as far as the summer playoffs go. Anything that you're looking forward to? Anything, anybody or anything that you're particularly looking for?
Well, like I mentioned, even Paladin is going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Tempo Mage pretty much dropped out. The thing I'm looking forward to the most is seeing what players do with even Shaman. I think there are, I believe, 12 players bringing even Shaman decks to the APAC tournament. And that's pretty much, it has terrible matchups against Warlock. It has terrible matchup against Priest. But Priest has really dropped off in popularity. And Paladin is, like I said, everywhere. And the matchup against Paladin is very, very good. Okay. So I feel like these even Shamans are going to be able to go in, ban Warlock, and destroy Paladin. And I think that even Shaman lists might do very well. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that actually plays out the way we think it will, or if even Paladin is just, even when it's not as favored, if it still does well. We'll have to see.
Gotcha.
But the Q block, Spiteful Druid, even Paladin, Quest Rogue is the most popular lineup. 18 out of 71 players are bringing it, so expect to see quite a lot of that. And then in terms of notable players that are going to be at APAC this weekend,
yep.
We have Surrender, who came first in the summer playoffs last year and tied for third at the Hearthstone World Championships.
Okay.
We have Tom60229, who is our reigning world champion.
Everybody knows Tom. Yep.
Everybody knows Tom.
Everybody knows Tom.
And then Mage as well, who is a very difficult Hearthstone player to actually find information on because Mage is a class in Hearthstone. So even looking for Hearthstone pro player Mage, it's very difficult because it just brings up a bunch of pro player Mage decks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
exactly. But he actually did really well in the spring championships last year. He won APAC and then just missed out on making it to the World Championship. He actually tied for 5th. So I think he is one to watch as well.
Very cool. And we actually have something else to look forward to, and that is something that you're tied to, kind of, right?
I am.
We're talking about DreamHack, because DreamHack is going to be in France this weekend, and tell the folks what's going on with that stuff.
Yes, so we have DreamHack Tours in France. It is the, I believe, the first HCT tour stop for season 2. Mm-hmm. So there are all kinds of players, particularly from the EU region, who are going to be there, obviously, because it's in France, and their playoffs are also over. So we've got all kinds of notable players. All 4 of our qualified players from EU, so Turna, Viper, Bunny Hopper, and A, are all going to be there.
Nice.
And then we also have Tars, Muzzy, Just Saying, Faley, who we've talked about on the show before. He did very well and won a previous tour stop. Mm-hmm. I think came second to Turna at a previous tour stop. We also have Sidonia, Green Sheep, Gara, Viper, RDU, Board Control, Odimian, Hunter Ace. Like, it is a stacked tournament. Oh, and Orange. Can't forget Orange.
Nice.
So
never forget
And those
Orange.
are just like a very, very quick perusal of the almost 200 players who are actually, I think, over 200 players who are registered for the tournament. So there's a lot of very big names. And as we know, EU is an extraordinarily competitive region. So it's definitely going to be worth checking out. But yes, full disclosure, I am doing Hearthstone content creation for DreamHack now. So,
which is awesome. So you're going to be,
I'm very excited.
You're going to have to get up very, very early because you're not
5 a.m.
You're not actually going to France. You'll be doing stuff from back home and making sure that the content is coming out in rapid succession. I'm sure. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, good luck on that stuff. I know that this job is fresh for you, so. Good luck.
Yes, this is my first DreamHack working for the team, so I'm really, really excited about it.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing you report back on how working for DreamHack, goes for this weekend. We'll figure that out, as well as the APAC tournament and all of that kind of good stuff. And we will talk. There is more and more HCT coming up, like in the next couple of months. It seems like every weekend there's something major going on.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a lot of major tour stops, which we knew were going to happen. This season seems a little bit more intense, but that's pretty much because we had these 3 weekends of playoffs that we didn't have in the first season. So I think going forward through the rest of the year, I think it's going to be very like 1 week after another sort of thing in terms of scheduling. And I'm excited because there is a lot of really, really good Hearthstone being played, and because of these tour stops and all of these players having to actually go there are a lot more kind of through lines and stories. People are kind of getting to know a lot of the names. Like reading off notable players that are going to be at tours. Like there are easily 3 times that number of names you guys would probably recognize now. So I think that overall the HCT tour stops has been a really good move for the Hearthstone esports community as a whole. I think it's doing really good things for the scene, and a lot of players are able to kind of make a name for themselves by attending these events.
And the best part about it is that I get to talk to you more. So
exactly.
Joss, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next week. Let's talk a little bit of WCS. That's StarCraft 2 for all you folks out there. Yes, I'm going to talk about StarCraft 2 because you have made your voices heard, and I will continue doing this. I am actually looking for somebody to come in and talk to about all of this stuff. If you know somebody, or if you would like to possibly do it yourself, I don't know. Come talk to me. Figure it out. You can find me on Twitter at Pat Crane, that's with a K, or you can hit me up at converttrade@gmail.com. Okay, but I'm going to give you kind of a broad overview because it's become fairly interesting as far as the BlizzCon picture goes. We're starting to see people claim their spots for BlizzCon, for WCS BlizzCon, for the big finals, right? This last weekend, we had the Challenger playoffs, both NA and EU. Neeb, who has been killing it, once again, just kind of dominated. Scarlet was a notable mention, as well as Masa, both notable mentions in the NA playoffs for sure. Those guys are actually going to be going to WCS Austin, which happens in June, as far as I know, as well as the top 4 performers from this stuff are all going to Austin, and Austin happens June 1 through June 3. Also on the EU side, there has been nobody more stunning than Serral from Finland. Has been absolutely dominating, and I do mean dominating everybody, the entire EU, all of Europe. Really, with an MMR that supersedes everybody by a lot. So it's pretty impressive play, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. Another interesting thing. So we have Season 2 of GSL starting up in Korea. So Season 2 is just getting underway. The winner of that, guess what? Going to BlizzCon. So we've got all of these different pieces finally coming into play for position in the BlizzCon tournament, and that will be really great. And they're winning lots of money in the meantime, all of these guys. So one of the interesting things that is coming up, and this is not necessarily StarCraft 2 news, but I wanted to share it with you as well, is that the Asia Olympic Games, they're just called the Asia Games, but it's from the International Olympic Committee. So it's all a part of the Olympics. So Asia Games this year, 2018, is going to be a fairly special or notable one, I should say, for esports, because they are going to play them in tournaments, and there will be many games. The games are League of Legends, Clash Royale, Arena of Valor, PES, and for all you Blizzard fans, Hearthstone, and yes, StarCraft 2. All of those will be played at the Asia Games, and the games actually start mid-August, but 45 nations are qualifying for the actual tournament in the games, in the Asia Games. They are qualifying for them, I think, starting in June. So I will try to keep you guys in the loop as far as what nations are represented over what games and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting because there are a lot of nations, there are a lot of players, and there are a lot of esports. And that finally wraps up this very beefy BattleNet Sports. I just want to say thank you to Joss and Jules and Fist for coming in and talking about all of the things that they know about. And thank you guys for joining me as well. For all of the gang at Convert to Raid, thank you so much. Make sure to check out all of our stuff at converttoraid.com. That's where we have all of the things, the videos and the audios and all that kind of stuff, Discord info, and all the other shows in the Convert to Raid podcast network from all of the different players that we have on this show and in BattleNet News and so forth. So make sure to go to converttoraid.com, check out all of that stuff. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.